Hello, happy Sunday. So, today was fairly lazy. Josh and I went to go see Wakanda Forever, and holy crap, it was so good. Like, I don't want to talk into any specifics, but it was so freaking good. The parallels in storytelling, the cinematography, the character work, the architecture, the styling, it was a beautifully done movie. The handling of grief was so fantastic. Ryan Coogler did not have to come for my tears that hard. It was so good. Anyway, apart from that, I just finished doing a few updates for other videos, but this is going to be a weekly vlog, mostly focusing on the final book support group Readathon, which is running this month. Technically speaking, the dates for the Readathon are the 21st to the 27th. However, I do my vlogs Saturday through Sunday, so instead I'm going to be running it from the 20th to the 26th. This is the week of Thanksgiving, so it will get a little crazier towards the end of the week, but I'm still hoping I can make a decent amount of progress in my Readathon TBR. We'll see. Honestly, I don't have high hopes with this TBR. It's really just seeing what I can get done. First and foremost, I definitely am going to read the newest book in the Bromance Book Club series, A Very Merry Bromance by 𝗖cie迄𝘁𝗁𝘁. I know that for a fact because I am reading it for a video coming out in December, so I have to get that one done. I also checked it out from the library as soon as possible, and I currently have like 2 days left on my hold. I need to get into that. I'm also really hoping I can read Reaper of Souls by Rinna Barron. This is the second book in the Kingdom of Souls trilogy. I read the first one in September and October, really enjoyed it, so I'm trying to continue that and finish out the series pretty quickly. Unfortunately, the third book doesn't come out until next year, so we'll see how that goes. I was doing the Broke Bitches bingo board on Instagram, which is hosted by The Roomies Digest, Sarah Shelves, and Catherine Zofri. So with that, I just hit a bingo today, meaning I can go buy Reaper of Souls tomorrow. That's fantastic for me. Apart from that, I would also like to make some progress into my Spider-Gwen run that I'm reading. Maybe listen to the next book in the Winston Brothers series. Also, if possible, it'd be awesome if I could finish out the Nomen Omen graphic novel series, because there's literally only 2 more volumes and they're graphic novels, so very quick read. Apart from that though, I do want to try and finish The Midnight Library before I pick up another book physically, meaning my goal is to try and read the rest of this book tonight. That would be fantastic if I could. I'm at the halfway point right now because I'm reading this for a different reading vlog that probably won't be coming out until next year. It's taken me way too long to get through this book, so I'm putting it in this vlog because hopefully that will make me read it. I need to do that. Hey y'all, happy Monday. So I actually ran by the library and got a physical copy of A Very Merry Bromance because although I have made a ton of progress in this, I don't know if I'm quite gonna finish it via audio by tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I don't think that's quite gonna happen, but I have made a good bit of progress already. I am definitely enjoying it. We are off to a much stronger start in this book than I have felt about the last 3 books in the series. This one is actually making me feel a lot more similar to how I felt with the first book. I love that. I'm very invested in the couple. I think they have fantastic tension. There's already been a little bit of steamy scenes, and oh my lord, got me blushing. I adore Colton, our male main character, and the female main character has one of those personalities where she comes across kind of ice queen, but given that she is a professional businesswoman, I also think she plays that role of if she was a man, she would just be a serious businessman. So I love that sort of personality, and I love the discussions that come up because of those sorts of characters, meaning
I also enjoy her a great deal. In regards to the Christmas element, this isn't the strongest Christmas romance book I've read in like the last few months, but I am enjoying it still. I do think it's definitely there, but the vibes aren't nearly as strong as I have come to want. This is also Grumpy Sunshine with a female grumpy character, and that's something I don't see too often, but every time I have it, I enjoy it. Meaning I'm really hoping that this may possibly be a new fave Christmas romance book. Apart from that, I have also continued into the Midnight Library. I didn't finish this yesterday. I can't be too mad about it because I think I have like 40 pages left. Fingers crossed. I might be able to get this done tonight. I still have to do a fair bit of editing for a vlog on Friday. I'm hopeful that I can get this done. Since I've surpassed the halfway point, I don't know, my feelings go up and down with it. Like, there are certain elements I enjoy with this. I really like the message, but I don't know if it's going deep enough as I was anticipating. There are some really well done quotes in here. I also find myself getting bored occasionally with all of these different worlds that we're seeing. I don't know, like, I think they're interesting in how different they are, and I think it's cool to see Nora's expectations versus the reality of the world. It does get repetitive. There have been sort of twists which have taken place, and I will say in regards to like pacing, I think Haig has placed them very well, because anytime a twist has popped up has been right around the time that I've felt my enjoyment start to lull. So definitely strong in that regard, but like overall a little underwhelmed with this one, unfortunately. It's also weird that this is technically constituted fantasy. I mean, I totally understand why with the whole multiverse element. It's also so contemporary. It's strange. I was thinking about it, like, when I finish this book, am I gonna shelve it in my fantasy section or in my contemporary section? I understand it's fantasy, but like, I almost want to put it in contemporary, though I am already overflowing in my contemporary shelf, so that might answer my question for me. We'll see. Like I said yesterday, I also hit my first bingo on the Broke Bitches bingo board. A lot of B words. Meaning I could go buy a book today, and so I grabbed A Reaper of Souls by Rena Barron. It was actually kind of funny. I walked in and there was a nice gentleman who offered me some help trying to find the book I was interested in, and I told him, nope, I don't need you. I know right where I'm going, and then realized, like, wow, sorry, that had mad Ron Swanson at Lowe's vibes.
Hi there. Is there a project you're working on?
I know more than you.
All right.
Like I think I mentioned yesterday, this is the next book in the Kingdom of Soul series, and I'm hoping to continue this because the first book ended in a way where we are starting to dive into a lot more of the mythological fantasy elements of the world. I can't wait to see where that's gonna go. This series is kind of hard to talk about because the base synopsis is so small in regards to the real story. I don't want to tell you anything more than the base synopsis because I'll feel like I'm giving away too much and you won't really appreciate the full scale of the plot as you're reading it. So this is set in a world where there are people with magic and those who don't have it. Our main character comes from a family of two very strong witch doctors. However, she does not have any magic, but when she finds out her mother is starting to do some nefarious things to garner more power, she takes it upon herself to utilize this underground bastardized version of magic to make some power of her own and try to stop her mother. As I said, that's a very base synopsis. I mean, it literally evolves into so much more than that in just the first book, but I don't want to tell you anything more. So if I do read this, it's going to be really hard to talk about it, but like, I'm very excited. I'm really wanting to pick this up this week.
Good morning. So hi, it's Wednesday. I did not take the time to update yesterday because work was insane. And then I went over to my brother's and I just was like so brain dead. I wanted to chill out. We ended up watching Harold and Kumar, which I'd never seen before. And oh my God, it was so funny. It's one of those fantastic movies that you need to put on whenever your brain is dead and like you don't want to think about anything. My niece and nephew are also absolutely adorable. It's Wednesday before Thanksgiving, meaning today my mom and I are going to spend the entire day cooking. Fun. Oh, my light just went out. Yeah.
I'm too lazy to fix that. Yeah, I literally just got out of bed, by the way. That's why I'm not quite awake and still drinking coffee. But I've made a lot of book progress. So starting out, I finished The Midnight Library Monday night. I liked this well enough. I don't think it's quite a new favorite or anything. This sounds very strange, and I don't mean it to sound like an insult, but it definitely feels to me like this book gives me a similar message that I got from like Perks of Being a Wallflower in terms of energy and vibe. It's sad, but it talks about like the important things in life that you need to put focus on and how you can't always, I'm not even going to try and get into all the messages of this because I'm just not awake enough for it. But basically, it just reminded me of something like The Perks of Being a Wallflower that I was totally obsessed with when I was in high school. It's not quite as deep as I thought it was when I was like 16. And I don't mean that as an insult. Again, it just felt like this was trying to be really deep, but it didn't quite go there enough for me personally. So at least I finished this. The same day, I also finished A Very Merry Bromance because I was listening to the audiobook that morning. It was due back at like 9:15, so I listened to it from when I first got up until I left for work, and I really enjoyed this. It was so cute. I definitely think this is my next favorite in the series. It lived up to the love I had for the first couple, but then it gave me the familial drama I really adored from the third book. Recommend this one, especially if you've enjoyed the series. You could read it as a standalone. You really don't need to read the previous books. I think you just get so much more of the family that's been built up in the previous books if you do read them. After I finished this one, I jumped right into Beard With Me by Penny Reed. I read the entirety of this yesterday because I was so absorbed. I could not stop listening. This one is the past timeline book where we get to see the initial relationship between the second oldest Winston brother Billy and his first love Scarlett St. Clair, or as she becomes known in the main timeline, Claire McClure. I noticed when I was on Goodreads that this one is categorized in a way where it is not a romance. It is a love story because it does not have a happily ever after. However, that's what the next book in the series is for because they have a second chance romance. So obviously this is their love story from when they were teenagers and circumstances as well as, some really poorly timed things and very terrible people end up keeping them apart, and then those secrets have essentially kept them apart for the next 20 years. I do think it's a little on the ridiculous side in that regards. There's like a certain element that I definitely think has the severity to keep them away from each other for that long, but Claire comes back to town, so clearly it didn't have that much of a severity to her, but like it's because she didn't know something. It's so weird to talk about this book because it's a past book, so like I feel like I'm not spoiling things if you've read any of the previous books, but at the same time like kinda am. Apart from that, it is a little on the long side given what this story really is. I am impressed that Penny Reed gave it its whole own book, but I do think it probably could have been cut down to a novella and you would have gotten the same emotions and feelings and plot overall. Also, you meet Claire's future husband, who, when we meet her in the first book, her husband has died. And so you meet her husband when they were teenagers, and he's 19, whereas she's 14. And we know they don't get engaged until she's 18 at least, but it still feels very weird. Like, that is a fairly big age jump, but also a fairly big maturity jump. And like, not even talking about the legal point of view, just in maturity, it felt very odd. But like I said, I blasted through it so quickly. I have already started into the last official book, Beard Necessities, which is Billy's book, this morning because I am so obsessed with these two. I have been longing for their story since we first had a hint of it in the first book. I'm so happy finally seeing it. And the last one is basically all of the rest of the Winston family that has been built up between all of these books finally intervening and getting Billy and Claire their happily ever after, and I'm so here for it. Apart from that, if I do have any time to read physically today, I really want to start into Reaper of Souls since I picked this up from Barnes & Noble. This one is a chunky girl. She comes in at 436 pages, so thankfully the rest of this weekend is essentially a holiday. I should have more reading time than I usually would, but also, I mean, it's a holiday, so I do have other stuff I gotta do. Also, it's almost Thanksgiving, so I'm starting to officially let myself be excited for Christmas, and I broke out my Grinch shirt. I'm not quite to putting on my Christmas pop punk playlist yet, but I am fairly excited to do that on Friday. Hi, Sam, I am. So that is it for now. I am going to go finish my coffee and hopefully read a little bit of Reaper of Souls physically before we have to start cooking. And I will have so much B-roll of that for you. Hey, happy Thanksgiving. I'm so tired. I'm so wiped, ready for a nap, filled belly, and just want to lay down. So I actually have gotten a fair amount read since I last spoke with you. I listened to about 60% into Beer Necessities yesterday, and I listened to an additional 10% today while getting ready. I am really enjoying this. I love the tension between Billy and Claire, and I really appreciate the fact that basically the entire Winston clan that has been building up in all of the previous books is all working together to try and make Billy and Claire realize that they are perfect for each other and finally have their happily ever after. I adore that setup. It is so cute. It's so fun. It's so entertaining because, as I said, everybody else is basically working to try and force these two to spend time with one another in the hope that they will eventually talk out everything that's gone on in their past. I do also like that even when that does happen, there are still issues of not miscommunication, but just like issues that have arisen because of all of the things these two have been through. And I really like that it is clearly being showcased to us that this is a process. This is not a one and done sort of conversation. They have at least had 3 deep heart-to-hearts where they've talked out things from their past, how that has affected them now, and I'm loving it. I also will say, in regards to Claire / Scarlett's not ex, but like her husband who has passed away, I didn't like that when we were introduced to him there was that age gap, and I do appreciate that now in this book it's actually being talked about as problematic. It's not being normalized, because I was a little concerned about that with how it was taken and handled in Beard with Me. We also have already gotten a little bit of spice, and I was all over it. So good. So good, oh my lord. Yeah, it's, I think the amount of tension and how long these two have had feelings for one another made it so when they finally came together, it literally was like an explosion, and it felt like I've gone through so much between these two that I was ready for it. I was so ready, and I can tell we're definitely gonna get more of it. I just know we are. Apart from that, I also started into Reaper of Souls. I am currently at chapter 8. Page 77, so not a ton, but a dent at least. And I will say it's cool that this actually has the perspective of Readathon, who is our main character Ara's love interest. In the first book, we pretty much solely saw from Ara. We had occasional chapters where we would see from the different gods that are being discussed, and then I think there might have been a chapter or 2 from the villain character, which I literally can't say anything about at all because you don't even know who the villain character really is when you start the first book. I also like that there was this event which happened with Readathon in the first book that it felt like Ara was being a little victim blaming, and I appreciated that it was talked out a little bit more and she realized the issue with treating him in that way in the second book and thankfully apologized, and yeah, it felt a lot more healthy. On top of that, in regards to their relationship, I am getting a lot more invested because there is this element now that is not just the sort of Romeo and Juliet situation situation they started with because their families don't like each other. There is an additional obstacle to them becoming a couple now, and I mean, if you put 2 issues in there, it makes me want them to become a couple even more. On top of that, I also like that in Ara's plot, we are seeing her finally get some happiness from her familial life again. It's really hard to talk about this book. Where the first one ended, this continues maybe a few weeks later. We do still see the ramifications of the events from the first book and how it has actually affected this entire kingdom. So I do like that because it felt like the events actually had repercussions. And now we're slowly starting to have these characters in the kingdom kind of go back to their normal life, but also not. With having Readathon's perspective, we also are getting some action a little bit sooner, and I am really into that, particularly because both this and the first book have so much exposition of explaining all the world and the magic, all of the drama that is happening with the gods and now affecting the humans because of it. That whole stuff, I cannot wait to see how that is going to end. Ara's magic is also very, very badass, and I think we might have just gotten an explanation as to what is going to be the main focus that our team of heroes are trying to stop this time around. I'm not going to guarantee that because that kind of happened with the first book, and then like 3 extra can of worms got opened. So it's totally possible Rena Baron will do that to me again. We'll see. Anyway, so that's it reading wise. As I said, today is Thanksgiving. It was so much fun getting to see all of my family. I don't really have any B-roll for you because I was focused on spending time with them and also stuffing myself. They have since left. Josh is currently on his way over, so we're gonna hang out, but until he gets here, I think I'm just gonna hang out with my parents and continue reading while they watch the Cowboys game.
Hi. Hey. Hello. So it is Friday, Black Friday, officially, but I don't really like going out on Black Friday, so rather I have had a fairly lazy morning, and then basically I just packed a bag and came over to Josh's. I have been listening to Beard Necessities all morning, officially finished it. I am like emotionally distraught that I have officially finished the series. There is technically a 0.5 that happens afterward that I think mostly is like deleted scenes, occasional little extra portions from all of the different couples, and I definitely am going to be reading that at some point, but officially speaking, I have finished this series, and I can't believe it. Like, I can't believe I finished the series. The epilogue chapter was 10 years in the future, and we got to see how much this family has grown. We got to see all of them with their kids and how they all interact together, and it was so pure. I don't think this is my favorite of the series. I honestly think my favorite still has to be Beard Science, which was the 3rd book between Cletus and Jennifer, probably strongly followed by the first and then the second. I probably eventually will do a full breakdown of my ranking. I loved that so much of it was just filled with tension and the 2 of these characters really needing to just talk things out. Finally sit down and communicate all of their feelings, all of the hurt, all of the secrets that have affected their lives so much. And I think it was really great that it was so focused on them trying to heal as individuals and then allowing that to improve their relationship together. It was really good. I did really enjoy it. I think it was very healthy and just pretty wonderful. The ending was so stinking pure. Oh my lord. It just, my heart, my soul. It was so cute. I did bring Reaper of Souls with me. I'm gonna be hanging at Josh's tonight, probably most of tomorrow, maybe tomorrow night. I'm not really sure, honestly. I brought Reaper of Souls, so hopefully I can read some more of that physically. I also checked out the audiobook for it, so if at any point I can listen to an audiobook, bam, I have it. Josh and I don't really have a ton of plans today. We're gonna laze. We might go with his parents to this like mead brewery. We're not really sure yet if that's happening. We might just be hanging out. That is it for now. I just want to give you guys an update. I officially finished out the Winston Brothers series. Oh, but I did also want to say, I know that there's like at least 2 more spin-off series based off of the Winston Brothers series. And in all honesty, there is a very strong likelihood that I will probably check those out. I know one of them specifically is focused on Jen and Cletus, like solving crimes, and then along the way, their relationship becomes more and more serious. They get engaged, they get married, they have their first kid, that kind of stuff. And I don't know what the other one is.